Alright, today I want to offend both husbands and wives, so everyone hates me equally. You know what I love? I love when I make a video where I focus on some things a wife can do specifically to help her marriage thrive, and one of the husbands in the comments takes personal accountability that no one asked him to take, and he says, you know, even though that wasn't addressed to me specifically, I can be guilty of some of those things as well, and I need to watch out for those in my relationship. I've seen some of those comments from both men and women, and I just want to take a moment to say, I'm so proud of you. That's huge. Thank you for stepping up, for going first, for humbling yourself and saying, I don't just want to point the finger at them. I want to own my stuff too. You get two people who are devoted to that type of humility and self-reflection, that's what makes a great relationship. You know what I don't like? When a wife's comments seem to suggest that the husband is the problem. I mean, he's the problem, right? He's an idiot. He doesn't understand. If he would just get it, once he changes, everything will be fine. I don't like that. I mean, absolutely, he probably needs to do some things differently, but I don't like it when one spouse becomes the enemy, when one spouse becomes the problem in the other spouse's head. I'm just telling you that's dangerous. That paralyzes your own growth and self-reflection. Because, well, why do I need to grow and reflect? He's the problem, right? I also don't like it when I'm talking to the husband specifically, and he says, yeah, but it goes both ways. Yeah, it does go both ways. It always goes both ways, but I was giving advice to you. Listen, just as she labels you the problem and that prevents her growth, watching someone give you advice, and your only takeaway is, yeah, but it goes both ways, that prevents your growth. Let me just clear it up for everyone. Marriage only works when you have two people who are committed and devoted to mutual respect and selflessness and sacrifice for each other. Let me just answer 1,000 comments right now. When you're in a marriage and you feel like you're the only one committed to those things, the relationship always breaks down over time. So get help the moment you feel neglected or taken for granted. You can stay together, but there won't be emotional connection or vulnerability or trust. There won't be affection or admiration or closeness. And those things aren't optional. They're pillars of what makes your relationship succeed or fail. But over and over again, I see where a marriage breaks down and becomes unhealthy. There is almost always a lack of personal responsibility in one, or most likely both spouses. Here's a question for you to answer personally. Don't think about your spouse, think about you. How are you negatively contributing to this relationship? What are the issues that you're working on? Because so often when I ask that question, I get a lot of blank faces. I get a lot of thinking, not a lot of answering. But guess what you wouldn't have to think too hard about if I asked you how your spouse was negatively contributing to this marriage? That wouldn't take as long, would it? Because it's always easier to see how they're coming up short, rather than look in the mirror and see how we are. You know what you can't see in the mirror? Pride, and selfishness, and arrogance, and ignorance. And yet they kill marriages every single day. Yet I've never met a single person that struggles with any one of them. Have you? The lack of self-awareness and emotional maturity will destroy your marriage. But it's a catch-22 because you're not aware or mature enough to see that you're guilty or lacking. That was me. And it could be you as well. That's why it's so healthy for us to see a professional that can help us see our blind spots, to help us clarify and put into words our needs and fears and triggers and expectations. It's so healthy for a third party to challenge us, but also teach us to be an advocate for ourselves through healthy boundaries. And we have to ask ourselves, are we doing everything we can to cultivate a climate of closeness and connection and healthy communication? Are we doing all that we can to foster an environment of friendship and vulnerability and selflessness and empathy? Because avoiding things doesn't help that. Not dealing with our own issues doesn't lead there. Avoiding the tough conversations doesn't do it. Giving and sacrificing only to feel resentful later doesn't get you there either. We have to work towards health and maturity for us and ask ourselves, are we truly putting ourselves in environments where intimacy can flourish? Most of us aren't, and we need to own that. Thank you for listening. If you want to support me, subscribe to my YouTube, link is in the bio.